My story is about a Mormon family who were part of the MK Ultra program started by Operation Paperclip and masterminded by our original handler, Mr. Greenhog. To us, he was Mr. Greenhog, but there is reasonable evidence to suggest that his real name was Joseph Mengele, who always liked to use names with the word green in them. My family were used as entertainers, child pilots in wars, medics, special messengers, high-priced call girls, presidential models, sports figures, and international spies. There were 13 children, and then my mother raised one more. This story is about generational incest, abuse, CIA kiddie porn distribution, and satanic ritual families that have no idea what they are involved in on a conscious level. It's about mind wipes, controlling those that have the most to offer. It's about how the priesthood, sacred societies, Freemasonry, and a satanic pedophilic agenda is widely used to control governments, religions, and local police to do their bidding. But it's also about the power of love and acceptance and trust. It's about one woman's search for answers and healing and the story of how she found her true love. He's in the audience today, and I want you all to know that I would never have made it to this moment in time without him. Thank you, Dean. Today, I speak for all victims of a nameless, faceless perpetrator that still hides behind ruling elite families, secret societies, governments, and religions, all providing a cover for the most heinous crimes on the planet. And what doesn't feel right to me is that these crimes, for the most part, still await punishment. Ritualistic child abuse is the most hideous of all child abuse. The basic objective is to systematically terrorize children until they are forced to dissociate. The torture is the execution of a well-planned, well-thought-out ritual, often performed by close relatives. The only escape for the children is to dissociate, where they will develop a new personality to enable them to endure the abuse. This new personality is very helpful to the abusers. Once the abuse is over, the core personality is not conscious of what happened. Dissociation also serves the purposes of the occult because the children have no day-to-day memories of the atrocities. They go through adolescence and early adulthood with no active memory of what is taking place, but continue in rituals through their teens and early 20s, unaware of their involvement. The victims lead relatively normal lives until they get triggered and flashbacks or nightmares occur. The memories seem to come in layers. For example, the first memory might be of incest, then they remember robes and candles. Another layer is seeing other people hurt or killed. Then they remember having seen babies killed. Another is realizing that they participated in the sacrifices. One of the most painful memories may be that they were forced to give up or sacrifice their own baby. Each layer is something that has to be processed when they are healthy enough to deal with it. And sometimes the memory is as fresh as if it were happening in the moment, as the trauma relive explodes into the present moment. But if Nancy's story was hard to believe, let's just say that it was impossible for me to believe my closest sister, April, when her memories began to return. She talked about secret rituals and babies getting their hearts eaten and stuff that made me think she just needed medication or had maybe watched too many vampire movies. So April and I were best friends, and she told me everything, which was the problem. This is April way back when, and here's a picture of her when Bill Clinton was turning her into a high-priced call girl. So going back, I'm 14 in this picture at a girls' church camp officiated by priesthood leaders. We were tortured in the next 2 years. We were used in secret experiments, raped in their evil rituals, and brainwashed. My sisters and I were not the only victims. My whole Mutual Improvement Association youth group that I grew up with was also used. We were sold to the federal government by our father and his priesthood and military leaders. And I can tell you names if you want them. Now I'd like to introduce my beautiful mother. Now tell me, if you were looking for a breeder for DNA experiments in the military and secret government intelligence programs, wouldn't you pick her too? So with generations of unconscious baggage in hand, She and Dad, who were both incest abuse victims going back several generations, got married after only knowing each other for 10 days in July of 1948. My dad started out working for the post office, which I now understand is the CIA. CIA get assignments, not choices. And his assignment after Arizona was to become a music teacher in Santa Maria, California, which is 15 minutes from Vandenberg Air Force Base. One of my dad's CIA responsibilities was to create content for kiddie porn and distribute it. Enter Operation Mockingbird. When my sister Dawn joined the Army, she was on a base where enlistees became Hollywood stars. She repeated that experience where a surprising number ended up being movie stars. She gave me a long list, and it would surprise you who they are, or maybe not. What we're learning about Operation Mockingbird is that high-profile celebrities become CIA mind control victims as children or teens who are still used by the CIA. And when they start to recall being forced to abuse a child or kill somebody, they feel shame and guilt. Many commit suicide because they don't realize it was their programmer who committed those acts and not them. Now keep in mind that this is and always has been about money and power. It's about keeping the drug cartels, violent gangs, human trafficking, sex trade, child trafficking, child porn industry, and human slavery as alive and lucrative as possible. So over the years, as I became more aware of things like pedophilia used to trap politicians, deep underground military bases, the uses of children in these programs, secret societies, and the evil nature of those in power, I became more open to the possibilities that these things did happen. So what's the purpose of Satanism? They want an army of mental robots that hide behind a light who, with the proper programming, will do prostitution, child pornography, smuggle drugs, engage in international arms smuggling, snuff films, and all very lucrative things. These psychopaths at the top believe they'll create a satanic order that will rule the world. Many of us have heard of the excretion called adrenochrome. The Satanists remove children's adrenal glands right after they've been terrorized and right before they are killed in rituals to extract this Kool-Aid the elites use to sustain their youth and extend their lives. To all victims everywhere, I want you to hear these words. This was not your fault. It's the fault of psychopaths that have long considered us slaves to be sexploited and experimented upon, and it must end now.